Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, tonight we're going to talk about a couple of psychological effects and first aid kits. And this may be one of the few videos that may actually save a life just by watching it or sharing it. Tall claim, right? We'll get to that. We're going to talk about first aid kits and use those to demonstrate some things because I keep getting asked by people what kind of first aid kit should I get. Okay, so this is my son's first aid kit. He's got basic first aid training, a little bit of knowledge, but he is supremely confident in that knowledge. It certainly seems like he believes any kind of injury can be solved with direct pressure, which is a little scary to be honest. But a little bit of knowledge and very, very confident in that knowledge. And this is my kit. I'm a wilderness first responder. Well, I was. My certification has actually lapsed. It's a little bit more robust, but not much because that's kind of the point of the wilderness first responder course. When I started the course, I was certain that by the time it was over, I was going to be able to treat somebody that had been shot, impaled, and attacked by a grizzly bear with a couple of Q-tips, some sticks I found in the woods, some duct tape. It's kind of the MacGyver's emergency medicine course. Now, by the time I graduated, what I realized was I can keep you alive until I get you to somebody who knows what they're doing. More knowledge, much less confident. By now, somebody has already figured out we are talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, my wife is, she's a board-certified trauma nurse, works ER and ICU. She's got advanced training in mass casualty incidents. She's critical care air transport qualified. That's ICU in the sky. She's a super nurse. And when I told her, this is her kit, by the way, when I told her that I was going to describe her that way, she laughed. And she's like, well, I'm glad you think so. And it's funny because she is an expert, but her confidence level isn't there. And that's what happens. Sometimes the actual expert is less confident in their knowledge than somebody that knows nothing. We see it all the time in the comments section. Some guy read 4 memes and all of a sudden he's an expert on quantum physics. Not really the way it works. Now, the other effect I want to talk about is called the bystander effect. And this is why I don't want to dissuade anybody from getting a first aid kit. The bystander effect, to greatly oversimplify it, is that if you're walking down the street and you have a heart attack, you better hope there's only one other person on the street. Because the more people that are around, the less likely each one of them is to act. That diffusion of responsibility takes over. And you start thinking, well, certainly somebody who knows him will help. And you keep walking. And it may not always be the case. The cool thing is that just hearing that and letting it sink in and registering that is a psychological effect and that diffusion of responsibility can lead to nobody helping kind of inoculates you against it. And owning a first aid kit or a bug out bag or anything that requires you to envision emergency scenarios does the same thing. You've made the conscious decision to act ahead of time, and that can save a life. Now, while I can't tell you what kind of kit, I can't tell you what kind of kit to get because I don't know your skill set. I don't know what you want it for. I can tell you what not to get, and we'll start there. Don't get a first aid kit from Walmart or Target or any big box store. What you're going to get inside of that is like 350 Band-Aids, a roll of gauze, a triangular bandage, and a cold pack. Odds are, if the injury can be treated with that, it probably would have got better on its own. So save that $30. Now, I can't tell you what kind of kit to get, but I can tell you the company to use. And before we go any further, I want to say I'm not being paid for this. But in the interest of full disclosure, I should tell you I know the couple that runs it. They're both vets. The guy I've worked with on a couple of things that we're not going to talk about, and I worked with both of them during Hurricane Harvey during relief efforts. They are good people. In fact, after FEMA and the Red Cross dropped the ball, if you got any supplies off any of those 18 wheelers, odds are it's because that couple took shifts sleeping so they could keep the comms up and keep the trucks rolling and get them where they needed to go. They are good people. The name of their company is Bear Paw Tac Med. Now, I happen to have the granddaddy of their kits. This monstrosity. It's huge. And inside it, you find everything. It comes pre-packed. You have the big bag, and inside the big bag, you have little bags. You open it up, there's everything you need to treat trauma. This one is airways. Everything you need to secure an airway. It is fantastic. Now the difference between this and the Super Nurse bag is a field surgery kit and the stuff to deliver a baby. Everything else it has. So do you need this kit? Probably not. Unless you have some medical training or you happen to be in a field that is dangerous, this is probably not something you need. But they have a bunch of other kits. They have, if you're an activist, they have street medic kits for protests that are specifically designed and packed with stuff that will allow you to treat anything you're likely to run into at a protest. They have individual first aid kits. They have a budget version of this, which is really cool. And that's the other question. How much does this stuff cost? Super Nurse kits, bags like this, they can run anywhere from $700 to $1,000. The Stomp bag, the Granddaddy bag here, I want to say it's $500, something like that. They're not cheap. The other kits are much less expensive. And the odds are you may not need all of this stuff. Not a lot of people know how to secure an airway. So you may not need it. There's conventional wisdom says you don't carry anything you don't know how to use. I kind of disagree with that to some extent. You carry what you understand the theory of, because at some point it may just be you. There may be no other help coming. So let's say you've never done a chest decompression, but you understand the theory and you know how to do it. You've just never done it. Maybe you carry it. Maybe you carry what you need to do it, because it's one of those things that if you don't do it, the guy's going to die. So, I mean, it's not like you can hurt the patient any more than death. And if you're forced into that situation, it's better to have the tools and not need them than need them and not have them. Now, a couple other questions I've gotten about emergency medicine that I feel like need to be addressed. One of them, I'm not really going to answer the question that was asked, but yes, there's a thing called the Shelf Life Extension Program. It's a cool study. If this is a topic that you're interested in, you might want to Google it. The other one I'm definitely going to directly answer because the way it was phrased, it kind of scared me. And it said, is it true that veterinarian meds are safe for people? No. Resounding no. Some are. Which ones? We're not having that conversation. Because there's a whole lot that goes into that. But the way that question was phrased made it sound like somewhere out there was somebody saying that all vet meds are good for people. That's not true. That is not true. In fact, there are some that are even the same type of medicine, but will kill a human because they have additives to make it work in animals. So that's not something that you need to mess around with unless you really know what you're doing. I'm going to guess that if you're asking some dude named Bo on the internet about it, you probably just need to steer clear of it. And even the stuff that is safe, also keep in mind these aren't necessarily made in labs that are up to human standards. Not all of them, anyway. Some of them are. But So even the stuff that is safe, ostensibly, I still don't know that I would use it outside of a severe emergency. I'm talking like zombie apocalypse emergency. I mean, it's knowledge that's good to have, but there's normally a better way to get the meds you need than PetSmart. That's that can get real dangerous and real lethal real quick. So just keep that in mind. But more importantly, the bystander effect. It's not a matter of somebody else is going to help him. That may not happen. If not you, who? Make sure that somebody else is helping before you just walk on by. Anyway, just a thought. Y'all have a good night.